Hi, everybody. I'm very happy everybody's tuned in again on this mysterious shut-in that we're all enduring now because of the virus. But what a beautiful way for all of us to spend our time together. And my name is Jeffrey Carr, and I am a long-term devotee, a 40-year plus devotee of a wonderful spiritual master named Gururaj Ananda Yogi. And way back in the day before the internet, back in the period of the early and mid 80s, our guru used to give satsang during retreats, usually when we would all get together. And this was back in the day when people were just learning about Buddhism. They knew about Zen. Tibetan Buddhism had just been introduced to this country. They knew, of course, about Ramakrishna and Vedanta. Some people knew about that, but all of this stuff was very new. Well, now we're all real hipsters, and we've now listened to, most of us, to many, many spiritual teachers and many, many spiritual traditions. So much so that sometimes we're tempted to say, oh yeah, that guy back in the 80s. Well, Gururaj, in my opinion, and it's an informed opinion, is a really good spiritual teacher with a great deal to teach us. He was not a Buddhist. He was not a typical Indian Swami type with a wonderful, white robes and all that stuff. He said he was a teacher, a universalist, a teacher of essential spiritual truths that were true for all the traditions. I'm now, after 40 years of spiritual practice and seeing a lot of spiritual teachers, and so a lot of experience with many spiritual traditions, I can say that his work is very profound. I haven't found anybody who really surpasses him. I found people speaking about the issues he speaks about, but speaking about it from different traditions. All this to say that it is a wonderful time for us to listen to and appreciate the teachings of a real spiritual master, especially since a lot of us now have been practicing 20, 30 years, 10 years, and we know a lot more than we did way back in the early 80s when we first listened to our spiritual teacher, Gururaj Ananda Yogi. So he used to give these satsangs at the bequest of a question from the audience. And they weren't prepped beforehand. And a lot of, when we would listen to him back in the day, we would always sort of, oh, that's wonderful, I like it. And we would be sort of half spaced out. We weren't fully tuned in. We certainly couldn't appreciate some of the subtleties, I think, of what he was getting at. I find them to be amazingly coherent and well put together for someone who's speaking just right off the cuff. And as I like to point out, that I think he basically says the thesis, the first paragraph, he says the whole subject of what, he sort of gets it in a nutshell, the whole subject of what he's going to be speaking about. And then he expounds upon it. In this case, the first paragraph, and when I take these, they're done from verbatim transcripts and I lightly edit them. And some of the things I have to take out are some of the more outrageous jokes. And some of it, sometimes he would wander, make a non sequitur, and sometimes I'll take that out. But most of them are very, very much like he gave them. In this particular satsang, he gets very poetic, very little like, for those of us who like our spirituality a little bit more cut and dry, a little bit more theoretical, he can get very beautiful and spacey and mystical. But I think he never gets common or obvious or cliche in the way he talks. There's always a lot of depth to what he says. So in this case, this is a satsang, what is the purpose of life? I've mailed it out as an attachment, and some of you may have downloaded it. I'm sorry I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it's okay. The satsang is called What is the Purpose of Life? Someone, I think I know who, asked a very elaborate question of Gururaj. And he basically rephrased this person's question in the first paragraph. So I'll go over that. And then his second paragraph is where he nails it. Very profound. Here's the satsang. If everything is an illusion, and if none of this is really happening anyway, what's the purpose of life? Could life be purposeless? And should we try to find purpose in this purposelessness so that the nothingness of life becomes something? After all, who makes life into something? Isn't it we ourselves with our mental meanderings who add importance to living, to life, and to existence? There lies the purpose in purposelessness. Without purpose, you cannot exist. And yet this existence by itself, in its own beingness, does not have any pretense of a purpose at all. What on earth is he talking about? Well, the first, as I point out, is there's an issue which they call spiritual nihilism. That is, most of us, even now, go around thinking that love is what life is about. Peace, kindness. Other people think winning, that's what life's about. Or being secure. Life is about being secure. Life is about charity, finding our interrelationships with each other. Or even we think the purpose of life is to realize enlightenment. The Buddhists like to say the purpose of spiritual practice is to save all sentient beings from suffering. Okay? Gururaj makes two radical assumptions. There are two radical statements here. First of all, he says several times, he said, there isn't any purpose to life. And he said this in other satsangs. He's saying the only purpose that you have in life is what you ascribe to it, what you make out of life. There's no purpose to life. He calls it beingness. And all of us are advanced spiritual practitioners. We all know what he's talking about with this beingness. And he'll go on later, but I'll state it right now. We all know this. The future is something you dream about. The past is just a memory. The past is being recreated right this moment in your neural processor up there. And in fact, that neural processor, that brain, which you think is just chemically creating this experience of now, right? That's just an idea. That's another idea that's happening in the neural processor. What's going on? Gururaj is saying, there isn't any purpose to anything going on. And this leads to the problem of spiritual nihilism. He's saying, well, then that's what this person's figured that out. And they ask, like, well, then what's the purpose of anything? What are we doing? Why should we care? You go into despair. This is, by the way, for you spiritual adepts, so all of you guys are, it's happened to all of us. It's actually one of the early tripping spots in spirituality. You start to, oh, I love Tara, I love Buddha, I love all human beings, blah, blah, blah. You get into that stage of purposelessness, everything is just beingness. Then what about human beings? What about love? You mean it's nothing? It's nothing means anything? Well, then what's the purpose of being alive? I can't stand it. You're driving me crazy. Yep. He says, without purpose, you cannot exist. And yet this existence by itself, in its own beingness, doesn't have any pretense of a purpose at all. Isn't that our dilemma? Yeah. So what's Gururaj's response? Next paragraph, he nails it. And if the teachings say that the great master will often start by simply looking at you, or maybe holding up a flower. Some of us, okay, I get it. Some of us need a little explanation. I get it. Some of us need a lot of explanation, okay? Gururaj first, he'll give a little bit more explanation. See if you get it. Purpose is added by ourselves to all the things we do. And then we get up messed up trying to find too much purpose in it. It's our own thoughts and thinking that makes a purpose out of nothing. When we go beyond this stage, we can regard life to be just life without a purpose, stage one. According to our imagination, the greatest purpose we have in existence is to reach a goal. Stage two, save all sentient beings, love everyone. Stage number three, but imagine this, says Gururaj. Where is it that you can reach? You've already reached there. You are here. You're already the totality of all existence. In Buddhism, it's called Dzogchen, highest level teaching. You're already here. There's no place to go. There's nothing to do. The mind will immediately go, So if you would say, I have to realize that I am all existence, then that purpose disappears. Then there's no purpose at all to life because you are it all. But when you find the shortcoming within yourself to say, I have a goal to reach, then you indulge in this factor of purpose. And the factor of purpose is just factoring purposelessness into purpose. What the heck? He's saying that those Dzogchen types, like me, we say, well, the purpose of life is to realize that there's no purpose to life. That's the purpose of life. Missed it. Missed it. That's what he's saying, where we find the shortcoming within yourself. That's our own shortcoming, to say I have a goal to reach. And then we indulge again in the factor of purpose. The Buddhists call it grasping, attachment, what we call in our tradition attachment. We're so attached. Okay? Gururaj goes on. So we're just chasing rainbows, aren't we? The rainbow's there, it's so beautiful with all its 7 colors that begin nowhere and end nowhere. That's life. But within your thoughts, you think there's a golden pot there, but there's no golden pot there at the end of the rainbow. The rainbow is only seen through the prism of your mind, for it does not exist. Oh, the rainbow is a classic metaphor in Dzogchen Buddhism. It means something that certainly appears to be there, but it's really just reflections on droplets of rain. There isn't any rainbow there. Gururaj is telling us, yes, the rainbow's only seen through the prism of your mind. It does not exist. So those that think that life is purposeful are just chasing rainbows. But behind it all, there is a white light. And through the prism of that light, we see all the varied colors of which life is constituted. The white light being, it's the light of divinity, yeah. Light of consciousness, the light of awareness. That's the current buzzword. It's all awareness. It's just awareness. That's the buzzword. Rupert Spira. It's just awareness. Muji. So where do we go? From purposelessness to purposefulness, save all sentient beings. And then you realize there aren't any sentient beings to save. There aren't any other sentient beings. There's only consciousness. That's the cycle. But I do not think I would be able to exist if I couldn't hold Sujay in my arms, or Mother there, or any of my beloveds. To hold them close to my bosom and to make them feel the beat which is beating within me, and to merge at the same time into the beating of their hearts, so that there's a beautiful unity in which I flow and flow and flow to express that divine love as Laureata expresses her divinity in her paintings. I don't think, what's the purpose in life? And then imagine the Lord here. Laurie knows this so well. And then the guru comes up, or your beloved comes up, and your heart just fills without you even knowing why, fills with some inexplicable emotion. Suddenly, life, I don't even want to say, life is its own purpose. When some of you express your entirety in cooking a dish to feed yourself and your guru, who are you feeding, really? You are feeding divinity. You are feeding none else, none else, none else. You are the one which is the sustenance of the embodiment of divinity. Thou who art my Lord, the sustainer thou may't be, but remember this, that I sustain thee. So where then is the problem of the sustainer and the sustenance? Old Hindu story. Somebody was trying to feed an image of divinity, and divinity came to them in a vision and says, who are you trying to feed? You know, who are you trying to feed? They would be feeding divinity, but divinity would be feeding the whole world. Who are you trying to feed if everything's divine? Who are you trying to feed? Divinity? Thou, Lord, the sustainer thou may be, but remember this, that I sustain thee. Gururaj said very beautifully once, he said, I am the choo-choo and you are the track. I am the choo-choo, you are the track. Another time he said, if you don't turn your gaze towards me, how could I turn my gaze towards you? This is why, oh, we'll save it up. We always want to pretend God's out there. And then we cry because we can't find God. When you melt away into that beauty, you just float away and you don't care where you are. Then the entirety of all the oceans and the vast blue sky, swaying grass, the trees, the flowers are all sustaining you. God's feeding you. Look at those trees out there. They're absorbing all the carbon dioxide, all those poisons that you breathe out. And by breathing in this way, the tree is sacrificing itself by taking in the carbons and excluding from itself the oxygen that makes you live. So where is the difference? You see, there's no difference in anything. There's always a dependency on one thing to another. Everything that seems to have no meaning becomes meaningful to us because we're so mixed up in meaninglessness and meaningfulness. So where is your attention? I don't like that Donald Trump. I'm so worried about the virus. Where is your attention? Where is your attention? What's feeding you? I wrote to my daughter, I was kidding her, and Charlotte's there listening to this, and I wrote her, I used to tell my students, did you know that the water you drink is peed out by fishes? The air you breathe was breathed by dinosaurs. And you look it up on the internet. I sent her a link to said, you know what percentage of our body is actually human cells? About 47%. The rest of it are other organisms that we're colonies of organisms. A lot of them are the things that make our shit. They live there, are fecal bacteria. They're in our cells, all these alien beings. We're colonies. The viruses are already taking us over. We are viruses. For example, you have do-gooders. What are they doing? They're ego feeding. That's all the people want to save all sentient beings and be kind to others. The true doer of good does not make himself apparent at all. He just does what has to be done without even being conscious of what he's doing. So it is from this vast Jungian collective unconsciousness that we find conscious existence. He's pointing out that most of the thoughts that we have, you guys will all know enough that they've done studies now that our conscious thoughts actually begin pre-consciously, quite a few milliseconds before the thought actually manifests in consciousness. In other words, we're living entirely out of the unconsciousness. We are living in dream worlds. We are, as one of my friends pointed out, we're hypnotized. Where do you think Trump is? You made it all up. You're making it up right now. You made up the virus. You think, but what if I get sick? You made up being sick. You do. From this vast Jungian collective unconscious, we find conscious existence. And yet Jung just talks a lot of bull. When everything is conscious, where is the place for collective unconsciousness? We could never exist, and the entire universe could never exist without consciousness. The very existence of oneself, or all that is around you, is composed of nothing else but consciousness. Everything is conscious. As Rahman likes to say, we're nothing but experiences. We're not even experiences, we're experience. There isn't anything else. As Rupert Spira likes to tell us, what are we? We're thoughts, we're emotions, we're feelings, we're perceptions, we're sensations. My friend, take a list of those 5 things, and when you meditate, try to figure out if there's anything else that exists which is not one of those 5 things. And none of them really exist. Everything is conscious. Everything is just awareness. It all just functions of our attention. That's all that exists. Would you believe me when I tell you that even this armrest here on this chair is listening to me? See, a lot of us, when we hear Gururaj talk like this, we go, oh, that sounds really neat. I guess when I'm enlightened, I'll understand what the hell that means. I'll repeat it. Would you believe me when I tell you that even this armrest here on this chair is listening to me? It has its own consciousness, even if it might not be able to imbibe the wine of my song as you would. With my words, I'll make you drunk and intoxicated with the glory of that which is existence itself. You live only in the reflection of true existence. You are only a reflection of that which is. Your thoughts and beliefs and perceptions and opinions, they're just froth. They're God's froth in experience, the sea of experience. When Gururaj would make us drunk, yes. One of the extraordinary things that happens in the presence of the Guru is you start thinking, what the hell is going on? It's like you've taken dope. This is what happens in the presence of a Guru. You are in some weird reality. You are not in ordinary perceptual reality where you say, Oh yes, there's the virus, and there's President Trump telling us once again to not stock up on toilet tissue, and I better get down and get some toilet tissue because they'll probably, some asshole is buying all the toilet tissue. You know, we got, it's just froth. The toilet tissue is in your experience. The virus is in your experience. Gururaj is in your experience. Everything is simply happening in experience. Everything is conscious. The chair is not separate from you. The chair happens in experience. That's all you are, is experience. You are the chair, the arm of the chair, and the chair, arm of the chair is you. You're just a reflection of that which is. You're looking in a mirror and you think that things are wrong. Do you know why? Meaning you look at life, which is just you, and you think it's wrong. Do you know why? He goes on. It's because the mirror image on your right side seems to be on the left side, and on your left side, it seems to be on the right side. In other words, you look in a mirror and you think, that's me. It's not you. It's a fucking mirror. Or rather, it's what you think you are. It's actually, it's flat. Are you flat? And yet I've seen mirrors that make you seem topsy-turvy. There are mirrors which you must install in your hearts so that you realize that you're damn topsy-turvy. You're dominated by your perceptions and your opinions and your beliefs. You're damn topsy-turvy. So just stand up straight, that's all. Know the beauty of that little child's voice there. How beautiful. And what a symphony it is. Just to merge away in the gurgle of that mother's breasts or in the cry of a baby. The child doesn't cry because it's unhappy. The child cries because it's happy, and it recognizes its happiness within. And yet it has to cry because it's been brought into so-called unhappiness. I was just reading today, I've forgotten who. Oh God, who? It was somebody wonderful online, somebody. The gist of it was it was Adams, Robert Adams, is that right? He said, when we're complaining and feeling sorry for ourselves, look really at what's going on. You realize deep down you're getting off on it, dramatizing your suffering. Oh, I'm so scared of the virus. I'm so bored being stuck in my house with this other person, and I still have to call. It's just you're enjoying the drama of it, the suffering. Oh, poor me. You're enjoying it. That baby, it has to cry, even though it's recognized its own joyousness, because it's been brought into so-called unhappiness. Look at the conflict that exists within the boundaries of its own particular formation of consciousness, limited though it may be. But that little baby is more conscious of divinity than you are. There is that innocence. There is that purity. Why are babies pure? Because they're not filled with the opinions and beliefs and all the stuff we do. Baby's hungry, goes, ah, ah, ah. Baby gets scared, ah, ah. Baby's happy, ah. And they change very quickly. Baby doesn't go around really mad. Why are you so mad? I'm really mad at that Trump. Oh, where is Trump? He's on the internet. Oh, so you're mad at the screen on your internet? You're mad at something on the internet? Yeah. Are you mad at the dinosaurs? Are you mad at King Kong? Forever I replay to you that, Lord, to regress me back to my childhood, so that childlike I could just be and find beauty. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to analyze it. I don't want to ask the wherefore and the why of my existence. In the beauty of that child's innocence, I will recognize my own divinity within me. That's what it's all about, Mother. That's the secret of life. Everyone carries within himself a baseball bat. but they haven't learned how to conk their heads with this bat that they carry within themselves. So get conked, and all those beautiful stars will be there. Get conked from your unconsciousness to true consciousness, wherein you will cognize that everything is divine. What crazy guru stories. Makes me think of like those Zen stories. Oh, master, tell me, what is Buddha? Right? The master slugs him on the head. He goes, whoa! I won't tell you the whole story. I can tell you lots of Zen stories. Basically, as soon as this discursive intellect gets stilled, reality is abundantly present because it's nowhere else. Like, reality is just what's going on. That's all reality is. I don't know if you've noticed, but whenever I look at your faces, I just melt away in you, where I don't feel my existence. I just feel the existence of thee. So let me die to be alive in you, and therein I would find true consciousness within myself as well as within you. Can you blame this boy for loving you so much? There's the height of your creative ability. There's the height of your love, which is forever creating and recreating itself. There's the power of my pen to write immortal poetry or my painting, because I'm lost. I'm not there. I'm merged in my brush and in the paint that flows from it. I become unconscious of the colors that I'm mixing. So what am I doing? I'm just portraying myself through these various mediums and to find one thing, and that one thing is me. I was with a little group of local people who were Rupert Spirit devotees. And I was trying to contribute to the group, which is what I try to do when I go to these groups without being obnoxious about it. And I just pointed something that I saw on the internet that Ramana Maharshi was asked, what are you doing about all those suffering beings? And Ramana Maharshi said, what other beings? And they all looked at me like, what? There's only one being. There's only one in the whole universe. Gururaj is talking about living life that everything's an expression of that one being. All the colors that he mixes, the poetry that he writes, all of this stuff, it isn't the guru, it's beingness. I love the way he talks. But then, of course, our minds get active, and it's okay because the mind is God too. So the mind gets active, and a whole train of questions follow. Who is this me? Who am I? What am I? Where do I come from? Where do I go to? And in the final realization, I'll find, as you too will all find, that you've come from nowhere and you're going nowhere. You are eternal and immortal. The immortal self that is totally conscious of the entire universe. It's necessary just to climb the steps and go upstairs to see this vast panorama around you. You get taken in by its great beauty. You get taken in by solitariness in your own solitude. That's where everything has to reach. You're the only being there is. What about the planet and Saturn? And someday we're going to go to the distant galaxies. Where are they? They exist within existence. Something I read many years ago from Ramana Maharshi. He said, when you go into deep sleep, the external world disappears. Think, oh yeah, right. But you're still asleep in bed, aren't you? No. When you're in deep sleep, the external world disappears. This world of name and form. Who made up the planet Saturn? Was there planet Saturn in the Middle Ages? No. There might have been a little light up in the sky that somebody noticed. Okay, so before human beings were born, was there planet Saturn? No. You can say it's all just atoms and molecules. Or what was there before anybody had any idea about there being atoms and molecules out there, empty space or intergalactic space? Was there anything there? Everything only exists within your experience. You get taken in by solitariness and your own solitude. That's where everything has to reach. In other words, you have to experience that everything is your own solitariness. Everything is you. That's where you have to reach. Everything has to reach that. In other words, you and the world will be simultaneously enlightened. There isn't any separation between you and everything else. It's all your own experience. It's just your own opinion that you think you exist as a you. That's just your opinion. It's just some idea you have. Why not the cat? Maybe that's you. Life is illusory, and yet it's not illusory. The illusions are just created by ourselves. With illusion, there is no disillusion. So dissolve, and there are no illusions. Dissolve within yourself and become disillusioned. Move away from illusion to reality. That's forever an existence within you and without you is reality. Everything is true. Even the opposites merge at a certain time into their own truthfulness. And all these illusions cease. The lover and the beloved just merge into oneness, keeping me up until 6 in the morning in a divine emergence. Where even time is lost and space is lost. There's nothing there but that loving embrace that takes you away from yourself. There is the secret of non-existence and existence, for they are the same. It's where you put your emphasis again. A lot of you are involved with Bhakti, the beloved. Oh, the beloved, the beloved, the beloved. You have the entire experience of Krishna, entirely. You already are in bed with Krishna. You're already doing the deed with Krishna. You're already totally intimate. There's nothing. That separation is just for fun. You made it up. That loving embrace that just takes you away from yourself. There is the secret of non-existence in existence. They are the same. It's just where you put your emphasis on. This chair exists for me, and at the same time, it doesn't exist. If I break it up into molecular structure, the chair will not have its form. But having created the structure, I can appreciate the form. When I think deeper, I still realize and know that formlessness in form, the nameless in the name, the love in the beloved. Big thing in Buddhism is form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form is no other than emptiness, emptiness is no other than form. The Heart of the Heart Sutra. It's one of those things, oh, well, that's so deep. And then, people like me talk about it. People like me also often tend to emphasize one or the other. It's a big problem in spirituality. You get all caught up in the formlessness, the absolute quality of things, and then other people get all caught up in the relative aspects of things. Gururaj is saying there's no difference at all between the relative and the absolute. He's absolutely right. There's no difference at all. But he's saying, on the other hand, how could he survive without being able to embrace the beloved, to embrace his suje, to love us? He knows perfectly well that existence and non-existence are the same. So why not enjoy yourself? The love and the beloved. That's what you are, and that's what I am. Nameless with name, formless with form. to find the beauty of coexistence of the name with the nameless and the form with the formless. That's the true Maya of existence. One of the criticisms of the Buddhists is they talk about, or no, the Advaita people say, it's illusion, you know, it's Maya, it's illusion. You're grasping, your attachment. That's why you suffer. You suffer because you make distinction between things. You judge things. That makes you suffer. Gururaj is taking that attitude to task here. Listen carefully. Do you understand what Maya, the classic concept of Maya, is the dance of the illusion? Okay, this is the heart of my personal kind of spirituality. I see Maya as a beautiful goddess. Experience, existence as a beautiful goddess, nothing to be fled from, nothing to be avoided. Maya does not only mean illusion. The true meaning of Maya is the attachment that one has to anything. That's the suffering of Maya, the attachment to Maya. For that matter, I'm attached to Sujay, to seeing his form and his beauty radiating and so vibrant. And at the same time, I forget the form. I only imbibe within myself his vibrancy, and that's love. What's the vibrancy? It's what the Buddhists call the luminosity, what the Tibetan Buddhists call luminosity. It means things exist in a relative way. That's even not quite, they exist and they don't exist at exactly the same time. That's their beauty. As one Buddhist explained to me, and I think this is a great idea, he said, if things really did exist, well then where would stuff go? There would still be dinosaurs all over the place and mountains of poops and all kinds of things. Everything is empty. Nothing really exists. It's just it's appearances. At the same time, I forget the form. I only imbibe within myself this vibrancy, and that's love. Love requires no form and no name if you reach the core of that pulsation. And all things vibrant are pulsating all the time in name and form, which are the outer appearance. So what is Maya and not Maya? What is illusion and what is not illusion? To have a deep belief that nothing exists, that all is Maya, does not make the world turn. Take everything to be Maya, but in its own particular form of reality. Appreciate the Maya-ish reality and yet be above it all. Say that this existence is not created by me at all, that it has found its own existence within itself, and that I am part of this Maya-ish world, and I'm above it all. Real stupid things to think, you made it up. No, God made up you. You didn't make up you. It was made, stuff is happening. And some of it you say you did, and some of it you say was done on TV. Another thing is, I'm going on talking too much here, but what is the practice of Tantra? One of the practices of Tantra is to deliberately experience things that you find difficult or repellent, that you don't like dealing with, and to really experience it as your own experience. Actually, to come to what Gururaj is saying, to appreciate its vibrancy, to let it in completely. Real good one is these are the simple secrets of life and loving. Therefore, I wonder, why do people even suffer? It requires just a slight turn of the attention. Maya, I accept you as my beloved. And this is true. That at the same time, I see within you a greater power, an even greater force, a greater Maya that attracts me more than the outward Maya. Learn to love the forms of your experience, and beyond that, learn to love that which is the space, the content, the consciousness. So do I love you in your outer form? No. It's just the byproduct of my love for you, of your inner form, your formless form that extrudes itself and formulates itself into the outwardness of yourself that I can hold and cuddle and kiss and worship at your feet. For you are that which represents. The form represents the formless. First, I'm in love with the formless. But to bring it down into tangible terms, there's the creation of form, which begins in my mind with the creating of your form. You're not creating it by yourself. That's why people find someone so beautiful and another person so ugly. With me, it doesn't work that way. Everything is just beautiful. Look at my beloved one there. She's so self-composed and so beautiful. And look at my other beloved one there. Look at every one of you. You're all so, so divine and so, so beautiful. Can this boy help it if he just merge away into you? I can't help it because it's me, knowing the formless, to be able to merge away into the formless. That tries to keep you happy. My mind creates the form to make you realize that you are the form and the formless as I am too. Do you see how much we have in common with each other? We combine the form with the formless, and each has its own particular existence. Oh man, there's a lot in this. One of the ideas is if everything is one, why does all this stuff show up? And people try to answer it in different ways. You know, one of them is God. It's a God's Leela, his divine play. Sometimes they talk about the Guru's Leela, his divine play. Gururaj is talking about it in another different way. He makes it very personal. Why does Gururaj show up? For the chelas. Why do the chelas show up? So that we can have Gururaj. Why does anything happen? So it can enjoy itself. Do you see how much we have in common with each other? We combine the form with the formless. And each has its own particular existence. We got to go faster. Who is it that can recognize, who can discriminate between the form and the formlessness, the existence and the existencelessness? Who can do this? It's the one who's conquered all of the universes. That person takes a step at a time. When he is in existence, he lives like existence. And when he's in non-existence, he becomes non-existent too. That's self-realization. When you're in existence, you're in existence. And when you are in non-existence, I'll give it a name, beingness, then you don't exist. How could you have a name if you're just being? That's self-realization, and everything, existence or not. There's so much joy to be found in its own particular self. Manifestation is fun, don't you think? Don't you get a kick out of Trump? I do. He's vastly amusing. So am I in my own idiocy. I'm vastly amusing to myself, to the beingness. So therefore, I just can't understand why people are so unhappy. There's no necessity for you, my beloved, to be unhappy at all. What necessity is there? Dive into those beautiful, cooling waters of ecstasy, and all else will be added onto thee. That which others have called the kingdom of heaven, I call the kingdom of ecstasy. There, everything is found in the minuteness of things, of that which is minutelessness. Don't you see the meaning of it all? Meaninglessness is a bit different from meaningfulness. In this first word, meaninglessness, you are taking with a less. You're taking out the fullness which is there. He's complaining about the Buddhist again, and the people who want to, I'm non-attached. I don't eat. Forgive me, guys. I don't eat meat. I never hurt anybody. I practice goodness. I do nothing but meditate. Oh, I'm less. He's saying, good luck. Fun is that? It's only in fullness, like the full moon, that you can see the shadows in the moon, those crevices, the mountains existing in the moon. And yet it's shimmering and shining bright. We all do this. That moon would be so nice if it didn't have that spots on it. It's like my life would be perfect if I was just married. My life would be perfect if I weren't married. My life would be perfect if I had a better job. My life would be better if I didn't have this damn job. Clean it up, right? Fix it. It would not do if the mountains and the moon weren't there, for they act as deflectors to be able to give that shimmering light, to give its own personal character of beauty. Therefore, the moon needs its mountains and crevices, its hills and valleys and dales. It needs them. So why should you not need them also? In other words, you're fucked up? Good. Good. You don't like what's going on? Good. You need them to. So enjoy them. Enjoy the joy of everything existence. It's all alive. And remember this, it first must live in you to find its existence outside. If you're fucked up, you project the fucked upness. It's your joy. There's nothing, divinity is fine. Beingness is fine. The observer sees his own mental creations around him all the time. Two people look at an object, but they're not going to see the object in the same light. There'll be some differences because everyone's perceptions differ according to their own personal pattern. Lots of people adore Trump. By the way, I like listening to very conservative right-wing historians and stuff. They explain everything and it makes perfect sense. Why they think Obama's, the worst thing that's ever happened and what's wrong with this and that. It's fun. It's like, oh yeah. It's just opinions. All existence is within yourself. And then it's subjected to your personal interpretation. So it's not you who are looking outside. You're looking inward. And you're finding the reflection of you outside. You're always looking in. And when that clear reflection is not found, then what should you do? In other words, if you keep seeing everything as one way or another, okay, what's wrong? It says you sweep away the dirty or some scars, it's your patternings, and clean the mirror of your mind. And when you do that, the entire existence assumes a different form. The old-fashioned term is being triggered. Whenever you find yourself getting angry or blaming, okay, you're deep in your unconscious patternings. You're saying, that being, that out there, I don't like it, or I don't like that in me. You're making objects of stuff out of what's actually, you're making separation where there's really, by the way, it's fine to be angry and pissed off if you want to. Just realize it's just your own pattern. So what? It's like clouds, what God does. Makes you an asshole. All right, made me an asshole. Sorry about that. For my own well-being and my own peace of mind, I'll try not to be such an asshole. But so sorry about that. Let's say one of you buys a new car which was brown, and yet you change your mind and you want to buy a white one. Now, what's the difference between the brown car and the white car? It's the same model. It's just a question of appearance. That one's colored brown and the other one's colored white. One has a light brown upholstery and the other one is a blue one. But you're still going to sit in the same damn seat. And one is just as comfortable as the other because it's the same make of car. What I'm saying is that through the form of appearance, we try to make ourselves happy. But that's not the basis of happiness. It's just a conception of happiness and not happiness itself. It's just a form of happiness. It's just, I gotta have this. It's like it's all within you. If you get horny, guess what? Just focus on the beloved in yourself. I mean, not your physical form. You're getting, the brain is the sex organ. You're making love with your own mental conceptions. What we regard to be happiness is just conceptions. After all, what purpose does the car serve? It's just to get you from point A to point B. That's the purpose of the car, and that's not the purpose of its appearance. Do you see the truth that lies there? But you might buy that car for the sake of its appearance, and after 2 or 3 weeks of driving it, you don't even notice the appearance anymore. It's like giving a kid a bicycle. They'll enjoy it for the first few weeks, and after that, it's just another bicycle. And that's all it is. And that's the way it should be, because then you're not forming an attachment to it. That's the true secret of light, because all appearance is just a reflection of your attachment to appearance. It's not reality. That guy put a dent in my car. Who is that guy? Who's the dent? And who's that car? You made all of it up. Does that mean you're not get upset about having the dent? Sure, you can get upset about having the dent in your car. Just recognize it from your divine self. This is, you have this belief that that's your car and that it's bad to have a dent and that this guy made the dent in your car. This is a drama. If you want to live out your drama, fine. You can yell and get the insurance information. Do it. Yeah, do it. Enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out, kid. That's Maya. That's the greatest illusion. People say so many things about Maya. Appearance is Maya, nothing else. Appearance is the greatest illusion. When you look at your lovely cat or dog, it's my cat. What does your cat think about you? Does it think it's a cat looking at its owner? No, that's just some idea you have. God knows what the cat thinks. The cat's perfectly aware and conscious. I know that because I look into its eyes and it's conscious of me and I realize we're sharing a dream together. But what that dream is for the cat, I don't know. The cat wakes me up in the morning. He bangs on the door. Get up! It's just getting dawn. Get up! Because it wants its treats. All right, I get up and I get it its fucking treats. Here's your treats, cat. And then the cat wanders and rubs on me while I go pee and rubs and then goes around. Later on, he checks me up periodically and he says, more treats, more treats. It's just like, what on earth is going on with that cat's mind? See, that's my projection on the cat, but the cat has its own reality. All beings have their own reality. The butterflies, every being has its own reality within this dream we share. That's our dream together. I have a universe with cats in it. I think the cat has a universe with cat treats in it, but I don't know what it thinks the treats are. Who cares? It's like a piece of crystal. If you put a pink flower up behind a crystal, the crystal is going to appear pink. You put a yellow one behind it and it appears yellow, and something blue and the crystal appears blue. And yet the crystal itself is colorless. What is the crystal in this metaphor? It's your experience. Your patterning. So what makes this experience into all this junk that it's what makes Trump. If you were forget Trump. So Maya or illusion comes about with the things you attach to it. Otherwise, everything's just clear. It's pure in its own purity and in its pristine purity. That's how it works. Tell me the truth of time and space. What do you even mean by that? How can you take time? And how can you make space? Isn't this also just a form of self-deception or a misperception of eternity? When you're dividing time up into 15 or 20-minute intervals, isn't that just another illusion? Existence itself doesn't have any time or space or causation. Man, is that profound. Beingness, there is no causation. There's no time, and there's no space. Time, space, and causation are the creation of your own thought patternings. There is nothing there. The truth of existence is void. But on this blank void, your projection, with all the film of all your samskaras, and it produces all these images, and you get sucked into these images, which is just a projection of your mind projecting upon a totally white screen. You get sucked into it, and then you cry with all these imaginary non-existent characters and their heartbreaks and the togetherness and even the samurai fights, while some of you go on space odysseys where there isn't any space at all. It's we who are doing all this. We're the one that makes the world function. We're the creators of this world. There's no one else. We create it according to our own personal understandings. Otherwise, the screen is blank. That's reality. That void that you merge into, where there's no reflections or projections, where there's nothing to make you feel attached with your feelings or emotions. You become devoid of feelings and emotions because they are superfluous on the surface alone, superimposed upon the void of life. It's possible to have that, you know, some of us in the literature talk about that's a result of certain kinds of samadhi or certain kinds of meditative experiences, but it's possible to have that in everyday life too. Maybe enough said. It's possible to be that, be self-real. It's possible to be that way. If you are the self, if everything is simply a manifestation of self and you don't identify with this form, Robert Adams, I was reading him this morning, if you don't identify with this thing as significant, you know, this is just a perceptual whirlpool. You become devoid of feelings and emotions because they're just superfluous on the surface alone, and they're just superimposed upon the void of life. Happy is the one who can say to himself, I am nothing. And from nothingness, I'm going to merge it back again into nothingness. And that nothingness is the everythingness, the reality of life. For all your feelings and emotions and thoughts and the patternings and the samskaras and the impressions, they're all created by your stupid little mind. I don't know why they gave such a high position to the mind to be so high up there. You know, instead it should be in one backside because it stinks. Nirvana, or self-realization, or merging into divinity, is to find again that void. By the way, don't get mixed up. Void is not a big gray nothingness. It's exactly what is experienced right now. There's no difference between the relative and the absolute. But to experience that is to find again that void, which is devoid of all the superimpositions and all the trappings that are constituting your world and its non-reality. That's your illusion. How much am I real to you? Tell me that. In other words, the guru. This body, this soft flesh, this beating heart, that smile, that gesture, is that the reality you seek in me or anyone else? They are the creation of your mind. That's just how you see me, through the colorations of your mind. You don't see me in my true essence, just as you don't see anyone else either. I'm just using me as an example. But what I see in others is beyond any verbal description. It's beyond any kind of verbalization. How can I verbalize that which is so, so divine? How can I verbalize it? It would be insulting to you to put it into verbal form. Visualization, verbalization too, is just a coloration of the mind, and all the colors that the mind produces are illusory. The colors are real, but the production of them are unreal, and how they delude you. That's a complicated statement, because It's, again, when we talk about Maya, we're tempted to believe, well, nothing out there is real, so nothing matters. He's saying, au contraire, those patternings in you are unreal, but this experience is your experience. That's your life. That's perfectly real in its own way, perfectly real. Otherwise, you know, it's an old joke. If you think you're so all merged with reality, go walk in front of a bus. So what's going to happen? You're going to get squished. You're still, you still have a life. You still have your patternings. The stuff's going to happen, but just realize it's true source, which is emptiness. I remember once how we got so confused. There was this blue backdrop where I was sitting to be photographed, and when the photography was developed, it looked green. Now the people there were puzzling their little heads over it. How come in that photograph the blue backdrop turned green? I let them go on and just let them have their little fun. The boys must play with their toys. And then I said, no, it's simple. The emanation of the gold light, which is there all the time, mixed with the blue would produce the effect of green. He's talking about getting photographed himself, and I think he's making a very elaborate metaphor. Well, he's whatever. Let me think. Until the mind can become thoughtful in thoughtfulness. Remember this, functioning at its highest speed and not knowing of its function. Only then can you stand apart from the functioning and watch it play. How beautiful it is to stand outside a children's playground and watch the children playing while you're sitting there on this bench. How beautiful. Some laugh, some cry, some fall, hurting their shins and their knees and scrapes and bruises. And yet, that's nice. In spite of the scrapes and bruises, there are the joy and the twinkle of their eyes. They shine with that extraterrestrial beauty of childlikeness. Wonderful. That is the beauty that has to be captured within yourself and not in your imaginings. Now, what I think he's talking about here is this, that these Zen people talk about adding a head to the one you already have. What you're experiencing right now, without thinking about it, is what you are. Gururaj is talking about when you fuss with that, you start thinking, well, I don't know, I don't know if this really is right, or what does that mean? And I think it's this, I think it's, I don't like what's, that's your adding on to. You see, what you're looking at is your creation. It's coming out of your experience. It's all yours. The entire universe is entirely personal to you. So you don't need to mess with it. I got to go faster. To know one's true self is to know the entirety of this little universe we live in. That's what I was saying. There are universes upon universes, and not just one universe. When we use the word universe, we're using it more figuratively to mean the allness of manifestation or creation. It all works in cycles and universes and universes. All existence become beginningless and endless. They're all there all the time, functioning within themselves. They function by the primordial power that they are possessed at the beginning. When this power slows down and the motion slows, it goes back into pralay until it regenerates and rejuvenates and becomes alive again. Whatever is happening out there is happening within you. What the hell? This sounds really weird. Just grok it. Everything happens entirely by itself. Are you aware of that? You don't have to work to make the thoughts come. You don't have to work about going to sleep at night. You don't have to worry about going to the supermarket and buying bread. You don't have to worry about the car. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything is just happening entirely by itself. All the universe is just functioning flawlessly all the time. No problem at all. It works perfectly. Everything just happens. We don't even, it just happens. You think, well, I did it. I made the money. Oh yeah, who made the money? Who made you? Who made your job? Who made everything? It just happens. The only thing we must know is existence in its own true value and not in our imaginary values of existence. When we go into our imaginary values, we're creating illusions. I'm picking up Trump. Again, I keep thinking, because I listen to Trump people online all the time. That Trump, I can't believe he said that again. Guess what? There's plenty of people that says, oh, thank God Trump said that. So that person, they're all within you, isn't it? You get upset at Trump. Other people get joyous at Trump. Universes within universes within universes. But when we get into our imaginary values, then we're creating illusions. That's what it's all about. You look so beautiful, my beloved, so lovely. How can I tell you how much I love and